Hi, my name is Glow and welcome to my show. Happy Pride Month. Did you know that June is also PTSD Awareness Month? There are so many important events going on in the world, and I wouldn't feel right if I didn't at least mention some of the big ones. I will also be linking several charities in the description. Free Palestine, fuck Donald Trump, Black Lives Matter, all cops are bad, trans, queer, disabled, and undocumented, and women's rights all matter, but the important thing I am going to talk about in this video is PTSD. Epic the Musical is amazing, and you really should listen to it if you haven't, especially because it is a completely sung-through musical that is available to listen to for free right here on YouTube. Also because I am about to spoil all of this, wow, 2,800-year-old story. The fact that a story that old, that is only barely part of a still living religion, is still getting new adaptations proves just how amazing the Odyssey really is. Sometimes when you start messing with something that time-tested, you hit roadblocks, though. I wouldn't feel right if I didn't say, please do not attack anyone involved in the creation of this musical. In fact, please do not attack anyone I talk about here ever. Not even Chris Rice. Yeah, I'm pulling out my support for him, by the way. No matter how good his art was, allegations are credible, and it doesn't change what he did. If you want to listen to Chris Rice's music, please do it in a way that does not give that man any more money or power. But also, please do not attack even him. Harming him is not going to give the girl he hurt her old life back. Anyways, as great as Epic the Musical is, it doesn't come out looking as great when looked at through a certain perspective. I would argue most of the changes made to the story in the Odyssey were made in order to make the story more character-driven. One of those changes is how it's pretty clear that Odysseus develops PTSD after the events in the song Ruthlessness, where Poseidon drowns most of Odysseus's remaining crew, and even after that, Odysseus and his 43 remaining crew members barely make it out alive. Why do I say he developed PTSD after that event and not from all the traumatic events that happened before that, including his best friend and probably boyfriend Polites dying brutally right in front of him? Well, why do only some but not all traumatic events in the real world result in someone developing PTSD? A lot of it has to do with what happens directly following a traumatic event, although it isn't the only factor, and I think the Trojan War itself not having caused him to develop PTSD might be because no one he cared about died there, and it was a sweeping victory in the end. After the Trojan War, he also had the support of not only Polites, but also Eurylochus, who remains alive until the end of the song Thunderbringer, but who clearly starts to doubt Odysseus in the song Luck Runs Out, and who Odysseus finds out in the song Scylla opened the windbag, ultimately dooming most of the crew. He also sung So Much Has Changed, But I'm the Same in Keep Your Friends Close, the song just before Ruthlessness. He still felt hope and PTSD, and an active decision to become ruthless hadn't changed him yet. I suppose I should support my claim that Odysseus has PTSD, even though it's quite clear to me, since he obviously isn't diagnosed because the entire field of psychology didn't exist yet. He has nightmares of what happened in Ruthlessness that he explicitly sings about in the underworld. He blames himself, singing What If I'm the Problem in Monster, and has at least auditory flashbacks and tries to commit suicide in Love in Paradise when he sings All I Hear Are Screams, Just Let Me Close My Eyes. Though I admit that it isn't exactly the main focus of the story. One of the reasons I love this musical so much is that it gave me a new favorite song about PTSD that wasn't written by an alleged murderer. No, I'm not gonna say what my previous favorite was. I don't want to give that artist any more attention. Anyhow, even though the song only mentions one symptom of post-traumatic stress disorder, that being nightmares, I think it gets across what having PTSD often feels like very well. I'm not as afraid to close my eyes as I used to be, but having flashbacks and nightmares where I'm basically seeing, hearing, and feeling and smelling all the same things I did when a traumatic event actually happened. No, like the song says, the past is always close behind. Like I said, I think that gets the feelings across very well. Even if looking at the song this way does make it a little on the nose. I mean, the ghosts of his past are literally haunting him. That's not a metaphor, it's literally what happens. There's an awesome animatic of the underworld that I will link in the description that I feel got across the disorienting and debilitating feelings I deal with so often very well. That video does have a seizure warning, so I guess extra seizure warning. I feel I wouldn't be doing my job right if I didn't at least mention the blind character Tiresias, who is not played by a blind actor, because, yeah, those exist, and they deserve parts too. Though what I am reviewing here is a concept album, it would be great if that got remedied in the actual stage version. Not that the actor that portrays Tiresias did a bad job or anything, but I'm sure there are blind actors who are just as talented. They just don't often get the opportunity to show it because people don't seek them out or accommodate them. Not that blind or disabled people in general need some sort of special talent to be allowed to exist, which is the problem with some prevalent disability tropes like the blind seer trope seen here, but it is an adaptation of a 2,800-year-old story, so I feel inclined to give it a pass there. There's an animatic of No Longer You where Tiresias is shown wearing an eye covering, implying he gave up his sense of sight for his prophetic power, which might be an interesting idea if it wasn't for the fact that real blind people exist. And even if they are blind because they, gouge their eyes out during a mental crisis or something, that's still not really the same as choosing to be blind. The PTSD representation falls into several stereotypes. I mean, for one thing, Odysseus remains as sharp as ever with none of the problems with focus and both short and long-term memory me and others experience, but even besides what it stereotypically doesn't include, look what it does include. Only veterans can have PTSD. Check. PTSD is caused by a lack of moral fiber. Well, he betrayed his crew in Scylla, didn't he? Even if I personally disagree with the stance the story seems to take about what he did in Thunderbringer being wrong. The crew knew what they were doing was stupid and wrong, and I don't think those idiots would have survived without Odysseus's leadership anyway. And the intentionality of what he does in Scylla is a change. In the Odyssey, his men thought he had sacrificed others to Scylla intentionally, and then mutinied because of it, but he actually just saw an opening to get through when all 6 of Scylla's mouths were full. All people with PTSD are violent? Major check. I mean, even if his actions are completely understandable, just listen to the song Odysseus. PTSD can be easily solved by forming or rekindling relationships. Well, the song Would You Fall in Love with Me Again does make it clear that Odysseus is still affected by all the trauma he experienced, and showing just how affected would ruin the happy ending, so I guess I can call that one a wash. So its portrayals of PTSD and disability more in general isn't great, but here's the thing. Epic the Musical is epic. Just maybe don't think too hard about certain aspects of it like I did, but seriously, it's great. Even just for the music alone. And I dare you to tell me I'm wrong about that one. Bye.